My sister didn't embarrass me by accident. She planned it. By the end of her engagement gala, everyone in that ballroom knew exactly how little my own family thought of me. What none of them expected was that one guest had spent more than a year trying to find me. And the moment he recognized my face, everything changed. My name is Maya Bennett. I'm 32 years old, and I investigate financial fraud for a living. Most people picture exciting raids or dramatic courtroom testimony when they hear that. The truth is much quieter. I spend my days following numbers that don't quite make sense. A missing payment. An invoice that's a few dollars too high. A vendor that shouldn't exist. The smallest mistake can uncover millions of dollars hidden beneath ordinary paperwork. I loved that kind of work. Numbers never cared who was popular. People did. In my family, my older sister Vivian was the success story. She was confident, elegant, and a respected corporate attorney. Every family gathering somehow became another celebration of her latest promotion, another award, another impressive client. Whenever relatives asked about me, my parents always gave the same answer. Maya works with spreadsheets. Then the conversation moved on. The engagement gala was held inside a historic Charleston estate covered in crystal chandeliers and fresh white roses. Everything looked expensive. Everything looked perfect, except where my name had been placed. The seating chart didn't put me with my parents or my sister. Instead, I found a handwritten place card at a forgotten table near the back of the ballroom, beside relatives I barely recognized. I stared at it for a few seconds before forcing myself to smile. My father noticed. "It's only for tonight," he said quietly. "Don't make an issue out of it." I nodded. I'd spent my whole life pretending these things didn't hurt. A few minutes later, Vivian walked over wearing a flawless ivory evening gown. Without asking, she slipped her hand around my arm. "I need you to meet someone important," she said. Her smile looked warm. Her grip didn't. As she led me across the ballroom toward her fiancé's powerful family, I had no idea that the introduction she was about to make would become the biggest mistake of her life. But what she called me in front of everyone made one man stop smiling immediately. Vivian didn't slow down as she pulled me through the ballroom. Guests smiled at us, thinking they were watching two close sisters sharing a special moment. They couldn't feel how tightly she was gripping my arm. "Please," she whispered through her smile, "keep your answers short tonight." I looked at her. "I know how to have a conversation." "This isn't about that," she replied. "Just don't make things complicated." That sentence wasn't new. I'd heard different versions of it my entire life. Don't outshine your sister. Don't make people uncomfortable. Don't turn the attention toward yourself. We finally stopped in front of a distinguished older man surrounded by business leaders and family friends. Vivian's smile became even brighter. "Walter, I'd love you to meet my little sister." She rested a hand on my shoulder and laughed. "This is Maya, the quiet one nobody ever brags about." A few guests chuckled politely. Before I could respond, my mother stepped beside us with a glass of champagne. "Maya has always preferred staying in the background," she said. "Vivian has always been the ambitious one." My father nodded. "Maya works with numbers. Vivian's the people person." It felt like I disappeared while still standing in front of them. The music kept playing. Servers walked past with silver trays. Conversations continued all around us. Nobody seemed to notice that my own family had just reduced my entire life to a joke. Then Walter looked directly into my eyes. His smile faded. He studied my face for several long seconds before asking one quiet question. "Your last name is Bennett, isn't it?" I nodded slowly. The room suddenly felt much smaller. Walter whispered something to the man standing beside him. The man's expression changed immediately. Then Walter looked back at me. "I've spent the last 14 months trying to find you." And when he asked me to follow him into a private room, my sister's confidence vanished for the first time that night. Walter led me into a quiet sitting room just off the ballroom. The noise of the gala disappeared as the door closed behind us. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. He studied me carefully, almost as if he was making sure I was really standing there. Finally, he asked, 3 years ago, Did you review a group of healthcare vendor payments that kept repeating in unusually small amounts? I blinked. Very few people even knew that project existed. I wasn't assigned to it, I answered. The file landed on my desk by mistake. Walter leaned forward, and instead of forwarding it, I kept looking. I remembered those late nights, the stale coffee, the endless spreadsheets, the tiny charges that seemed meaningless by themselves. But when I connected them together, they revealed fake vendors, inflated invoices, and millions of dollars quietly disappearing from company accounts. I filed a report through the proper compliance channel, I said. After that, I never heard another word. Walter slowly nodded. You weren't supposed to. He opened a leather folder his assistant had been carrying. Inside was a copy of my original report. My name was still printed across the first page. Our investigators reopened the entire case because of this analysis, Walter said. The fraud network stretched across several companies. He paused. We recovered more than $80 million. I stared at him. 80 million? He smiled for the first time since recognizing me. My team has spent 14 months trying to identify the analyst who found the pattern before anyone else did. I couldn't find the words. Back in the ballroom, my family still believed I was the daughter whose work was hard to explain. Walter closed the folder and stood. I think it's time they learned exactly who they've been overlooking. As we walked back toward the ballroom, I noticed my sister waiting outside the door. And the look on her face told me she'd heard far more than she was supposed to. When Walter opened the ballroom doors, conversations slowly faded. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. People noticed when a man like him stopped walking. Vivian hurried toward us, forcing a smile that no longer looked natural. Walter, she said lightly, I hope my sister didn't keep you too long. He looked at her for a moment. No, he replied calmly. Your sister has already given me far more of her time than she realizes. Vivian's smile froze. Walter stepped into the center of the room and lifted his champagne glass just enough to catch everyone's attention. I'd like to say a few words before tonight continues. The room grew quiet. My parents exchanged relieved smiles. They were certain he was about to congratulate Vivian and Elliot. Instead, Walter turned toward me. 3 years ago, someone uncovered a financial fraud that had gone unnoticed for years. Several guests glanced around the ballroom, searching for an executive or senior investigator. Walter continued. That discovery stopped more than $80 million from disappearing and protected thousands of employees, investors, and patients from the consequences that followed. A murmur spread through the room. Then he said the words my family never expected to hear. The person responsible is standing here tonight. His eyes met mine. Maya Bennett. Every face turned toward me. The photographer slowly lowered his camera. No one reached for another drink. Even the band stopped playing. Walter smiled. My team searched for 14 months because extraordinary people deserve to be found. He raised his glass toward me. Miss Bennett, thank you. For the first time in my life, an entire room applauded because of something I had done. I looked at my parents. Neither of them could meet my eyes. Then I looked at Vivian. The confidence she'd worn all evening was gone, but she wasn't angry. She looked terrified, because before anyone could say another word, Elliot quietly stepped away from her and walked toward me. No one moved. The silence lingered just long enough for every person in the ballroom to understand what had happened. Then someone near the back began clapping. Another guest joined. Within seconds, the applause spread across the room until it became impossible to ignore. Not for Walter, for me. Walter lowered his glass and quietly stepped aside. This moment belongs to Miss Bennett, he said. Then Elliot walked toward me. He stopped a few feet away before turning to face Vivian. I've spent months wondering why you spoke about your sister the way you do, he said calmly. Tonight I finally understand. Vivian's confident smile disappeared. Elliot, he gently shook his head. I thought Maya stayed quiet because she lacked confidence. He looked at me. The truth is, she stayed quiet because no one in her own family ever gave her a reason to speak. The room fell silent again. Then he looked back at Vivian. If this is how you treat the person who stood beside you your entire life, I have to ask myself how you'll treat everyone else once we're married." Vivian's eyes filled with tears. For the first time that evening, she had no perfect answer. Only one sentence escaped her lips. "I never realized what we were doing." My mother quietly covered her mouth. My father's shoulders sank. Neither of them tried to defend themselves. Business leaders who had ignored me earlier now stepped forward one after another, introducing themselves and asking for the opportunity to speak with me another time. My family watched in silence as complete strangers valued the daughter they had spent years overlooking. Walter handed me his card. "When you're ready," he said, "call me. People who recognize real talent don't ask you to make yourself smaller." I slipped the handwritten place card from the forgotten table into my purse, not because I wanted to remember where my family had seated me, but because I wanted to remember the night they finally saw the woman who had been standing in front of them all along. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video.